Towards the end of the 2017 season, we saw the last ever operating day of Curse of DarKastle, a cutting-edge dark ride located in the Germany section of Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. This was one of my favorite attractions in the park. It was so fun, very quotable, and most importantly, it was something different. You couldn't really get anything like this outside of a place like Disney or Universal. But one thing led to another and the attraction closed, and that building has sat empty for years. It's currently being used as event space. In October, you can experience a haunt maze in there, a not very good one if I might add. And during Christmas time, you can meet Santa Claus. While these are all fine and dandy, this is a huge event building that deserves something better. Well, it sounds like in 2023, we might be getting our answer. Not in the form of another dark ride, but actually a roller coaster, a completely indoor family coaster. And I think that this is the absolute best possible use we could see for this building because frankly, I don't see SeaWorld Entertainment putting in another dark ride in this space. If you look at the direction the company's been going in, they've been focusing more on the roller coasters than the themed experiences. I'm still hoping this has theming. In fact, I really think that the theming could make or break this attraction, but something like a huge dark ride just doesn't seem to be in the cards, so I completely approve of what they're going with here. Our friends at BGWFans.com acquired the layout for this upcoming attraction so that we can know what to expect when it opens in 2023. Yes, 1 year after Pantheon. Granted, Pantheon was originally supposed to open in 2020, and since that project got delayed, what are the teams at the park doing? Coming up with the next big attraction. And I think that this was a very much needed addition. It is very sad seeing that building sitting there. And because the maximum height of that building is only around, let's say, 40 feet, you can't fit in a huge attraction here, which meant that this roller coaster couldn't be too tall or too fast because they have a limited amount of space to work with. But the benefit is, now that Busch Gardens Williamsburg is really pushing to be a year-round park, this could be an attraction that could be open all the time. Whether it's in July when it's 100 degrees out and no one wants to be outside, or in January, February when it's freezing and it's too cold to open anything else. So let's talk about what this attraction is going to offer. And really, I highly recommend that you go and read this article that BGW Fans posted. I'll put the link in the description. They go way into detail of what you can expect, but I'll do my best to summarize. This is going to be an intimate family multi-launch coaster in the style of Wavebreaker the Rescue Coaster at SeaWorld San Antonio. Same style seating arrangement and everything. This is also the same style attraction that was expected to replace Wild Arctic at SeaWorld San Diego that got delayed. So yes, Busch Gardens Williamsburg is adding another launch coaster. After Pantheon, this will be multi-launch coaster number 4. And with that Gigaspire eventually still expected to be coming to the park, that would give them 5 launch coasters. Absolutely insane. And before we talk about this, the one thing I will say about that Gigaspire is that was originally supposed to open right after Pantheon. That has been put on indefinite hold. So it's not canceled. It is still possible it could happen. But I think it's smart that Busch Gardens Williamsburg is choosing to focus on filling the DarKastle space first. All right, so let's talk about this ride. It's going to use the exact same queue and pre-show and station setup as Curse of DarKastle. Obviously, they're going to have to modify the immediate station for a roller coaster, but it looks like we're going to have 2, maybe 3 trains that operate with 10 riders per train, so 5 rows. Relatively short, but that's because this is a fairly compact roller coaster. You start off with a left-hand turn into your first launch, and this is expected to be a tire-driven launch, not LSMs. And while the max speed or height has not been listed, I would expect it to go maybe 30-ish feet in the air, maybe like 30 miles an hour. So this will be a fairly tame attraction, but that doesn't mean it won't be fun. You'll have an elevated bank turn. You'll take 2 small little humps as you're kind of curving around, going into a bank turn on the other side. You hit your second launch, so yeah, you don't do too much track before you hit your next launch. Another banking turn. This one looks to be a little bit higher up. A little snappy S-bend. This should be fun. Another bank turn off the ground. One more S-bend, curving low to the ground, and that's when you hit your brakes. Normally, this is where you would return to the station. But on Project Dark Coaster, there is a switch track feature. You're instead going to turn to the left, go through a small mild S-bend, and enter a launch section. This is the first launch section that you took. Yes, this roller coaster goes around twice. So when you hit the end of the ride there, the second time, the switch track is in a different location, and now you enter your final brake run back towards the station. And I think this is perfect because there's not a whole lot of ride here. It would be fairly unsatisfying if you ended up waiting an hour or 2 for this and you only got round 1. So this is nice that that you go around 2 different times, and it really allows you to have kind of a more satisfying roller coaster experience. Now, I know a lot of people are going to look at this ride and say, wow, that's kind of boring, not very exciting, maybe underwhelming. But the thing that you really got to keep in mind here is that they are working with existing space. They didn't want to have to modify the building or include a section of it where the ride goes outside the building. This show building was designed for a dark ride, not a roller coaster. So I think it's very clever what they're working in here. And you can also think of it as a stepping stone for different rides in the park. The kiddie coaster here is Grover's Alpine Express. It's 24 feet tall, not a whole lot to it. And the next step up from that, I would say, is probably Invader. That goes 48 miles per hour, drop of 74 feet. And this looks to be more tame than that. But I think to some people, it might be more comparable to Verbolten just because of the launch and the indoor section. Although Verbolten ended up being more intense than I think anyone anticipated when it ended up opening. So maybe think of this as a more tame Verbolten. Now, the thing that I'm most excited to see with this ride is what they do with the theme. Verbolten is one of those rides that proves that you can have an indoor roller coaster with cool theming. There are a lot of indoor roller coasters out there that kind of follow this feature. Space Mountain is a prime example. You also have the Dark Knight coaster at the Six Flags parks. But then you have some rides where all it is a roller coaster in a box and there's not much to it. I think of rides like Skull Mountain at Six Flags Great Adventure, or maybe Runaway Mountain at Six Flags Over Texas. So I'm really hoping that they add in some cool thematic elements to the layout instead of just making it a roller coaster in a box. I think this layout has a lot of potential for that. I mean, originally I was kind of hoping that they would go with something more like Movie Park Studios at Movie Park Germany. That's another Intamin family indoor multi-launch coaster dominated by primarily show scenes, so it really blends between roller coaster and dark ride. And I'm going to guess based off of the block zones we have here that they are not going to be having some show scenes where the roller coaster stops and then you take off again. It seems like it's going to be one continuous roller coaster. Now, let's talk theme. Personally, I would love to see them continue that DarKastle theme. Curse of DarKastle was such a popular attraction at the park. I think a great way to pay homage to that would be kind of continue that story. And then that way, they also wouldn't have to do a whole lot with the outside queue. They could keep that gothic theme the same. I mean, heck, for all I care, you could call the ride Escape from DarKastle. I think it would work just fine. Build an all-new pre-show where you explain kind of the second part of that story, and the pre-show starts off where it's kind of explaining the backstory of the first ride. I don't know. I think that could be really cool. I know in the original Curse of DarKastle ride, when you entered that first scene, there was some really cool practical tree theming that is still there. I would love to see them keep that. So perhaps they could go with an indoor forest theme, although that might be too similar to Verbolten. I think at the end of the day, it will come down to what they decide to theme these vehicles after. On Wavebreaker, it's a jet ski. Here, I don't think that theme would work. So what do we think? Maybe horses? Bikes? I don't know about a motorbike. That'd be kind of weird. This isn't Hagrid's. I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see. Regardless, though, I think this is exciting. I love seeing how much attention Busch Gardens Williamsburg has been getting, especially with the fact that this would be the park's 9th roller coaster and the 2nd coming in 2 years. It's also proof that even after the pandemic, SeaWorld Entertainment is still serious about adding in big new additions to their parks. We saw them attempt this before the pandemic, but with everything going on hold, I think all cards were in the air. And so I think this is a promising sign for the future. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Project Dark Coaster, or as I've been calling it, Escape from DarKastle? Let me know down in the comments below, and stay tuned for more rumors and news updates here at Coaster Studios, and we'll see you next time.